Welcome to the Wisdom That Breathes channel. Across all our platforms, we try to share wisdom which is relevant and accessible to everyone. But on this particular platform, we go deeper into some of the ancient principles found within the scriptures. If you find some of the terminology difficult or inaccessible, then go over to our Keshava Swami YouTube channel where you'll be able to find other content which is perhaps more relatable. Thank you and enjoy the wisdom that breathes. Hare Krishna, good morning everyone. So thank you for coming. So today we continue our discussions on Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's beautiful creation of a community of love. Today we'll be looking at some of the narrations of the Chaitanya Charitamrita. Kaviraj Goswami says, Chaitanya Charitamrita Nitya Karapan Jaha Hoite Premananda Bhakti Tattva Gyan. He says, my dear brothers, my dear sisters, every single day read the Chaitanya Charitamrita, for by doing so, Jaha Hoite Premananda, you will experience the happiness of what love really is, and at the same time, Bhakti Tattva Gyan, you'll understand all the secrets of how to practice this beautiful path of bhakti. Because it is a beautiful path, but it's not easy to walk. Prabodhananda Saraswati says in another beautiful verse, Kala Kalir Balina Indriya Vairi Varga Shri Bhakti Marga Iha Kantaka Koti Ruddha. He says, I'm in Kali Yuga, already difficult. Kala Kalir Balina Indriya, and on top of that, my senses, my mind, they're so strong, they're so impetuous. And then on top of that, Shri Bhakti Marga Iha Kantaka Koti Ruddha. On top of that, I'm on this beautiful path of bhakti, but it's spiked with so many thorns. There's so many ways in which I can become injured on this path. Ha ha payami vikalam kimaham karomi. He says, what will I do? How will I survive? How will I walk my path? How will I reach my destination? Chaitanya Chandra Yadinadya Kripam Karoshi. I'm taking shelter of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. I'm learning from his pastimes. I'm learning from how he interacts with his devotees. And in that way I'm learning how I'll be able to perfect this path. So Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu at different stages in his life, he, it's not, at different stages in his life, he displayed different things, and he wanted to show the development of the Sankirtan movement. And in these days we're specifically focusing on Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's time in Jagannath Puri. Jagannath Puri is known as Viraha Kshetra, it's the place of separation. Vrindavan is known as Madhurya Dham, the place of sweetness. Sridham Mayapur is known as Audarya Dham, the place of great magnanimity. But Jagannath Puri is known as Viraha Kshetra because here an explosion takes place. Because what happens is in Jagannath Puri, Jagannath is present. And who is Jagannath? That's Krishna, who's feeling deep separation from Srimati Radharani. And therefore it's known as Viraha Kshetra. But when Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu enters Jagannath Puri, then who is he? Srimati Radharani in deep separation from Krishna. So what happens in Jagannath Puri is that Krishna, who's in deep separation from Srimati Radharani, comes face to face with Srimati Radharani, who's in deep separation from Krishna. And therefore it becomes transcendentally explosive. And that happens in the final parts of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's pastimes. But before Mahaprabhu enters into that deepest chamber of Jagannath Puri, because Jagannath Puri is like you can say Jagannath Puri is like a university of Raja Prem. If you want to know how to develop Raja Prem, then Jagannath Puri is the university. Just like when you go into a university, there's an entrance qualification. So when Mahaprabhu enters into Jagannath Puri, the very first thing he does tells us the entrance qualification. Because what's the very first thing that Mahaprabhu does? What's the very first significant pastime that he performs in Jagannath Puri? He converts the impersonalist Sarvabhaum Bhattacharya. And therefore the entrance qualification, if you want to enter the University of Raja Prem, is all impersonalism must be annihilated. And that doesn't just mean impersonalism in philosophy, it also means impersonalism in terms of how we act and interact with devotees and with Krishna. Because where there is impersonalism, there will be insensitivity. And where there is insensitivity, there will be aparad. And where there is aparad, then where is the space of becoming close? Aparad means to become distanced from the Lord, to become distanced from Srimati Radharani. So the entrance qualification for the university is no impersonalism. And then in Jagannath Puri there are different classrooms. So just like in a university you have a lecture theatre, public classroom, and then you have a private tutorial room, and then maybe you have a room where you meet with the tutor. So then there is a very public classroom in Jagannath Puri, that's the Jagannath temple, and Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu visits there every single day and is nourished by his experiences at Jagannath temple. But at the same time, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu has a more intimate place, the house of Kasi Mishra, and there with some more intimate devotees he associates. And then Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu has his innermost chamber where only a few confidential associates are with him, and there he goes even deeper. So similarly in our devotional life, we need the public community atmosphere to nourish our devotion, but then we need these other smaller forums to bring us forward. Just as in a university you have different teachers, so Mahaprabhu in Jagannath Puri has different teachers. He has Gadada Pandit with whom he discusses Bhagavatam every single day. And then he has Ramananda Rai and Swarup Damodar with whom he discusses more esoteric things. So like this, if we want to nurture our devotion, then there should be devotees who can take us on deeper excursions of Katha. And just as in a university there's a qualification to graduate, the graduate qualification from the University of Raja Prem is that one has to learn how to cry for Krishna. And that is the perfection. So Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu shows how that happens in a very natural way. A cry of the soul, not just a cry of tears, not just a cry of emotions. Those kind of tears many people have shed, but how many have learned to cry from the soul? This is very rare. So this is all described in Jagannath Puri, and the classroom that we're focusing on is the community of love that Mahaprabhu creates. And yesterday we talked about how there are 7 principles that we learn from different interactions that Mahaprabhu has, and today we'll see how far we can get. Maybe we can discuss a couple of them. The very first interaction that Mahaprabhu has in the beginning of the Antya-lila is that he meets with Rupa Goswami. Rupa Goswami, of course, is such an incredible devotee. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, perhaps his most important arm in spreading Krishna consciousness throughout the whole universe, throughout the whole world. And so when Rupa Goswami comes, he had only previously had 10 days of association with Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, and then Mahaprabhu had told Rupa Goswami to go to Vrindavan. But for Rupa Goswami it wasn't enough, so he came back to Jagannath Puri, and he sat with Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, and this time he didn't stay for 10 days, he stayed for 10 months and was specifically guided and trained by Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And what Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu gave him was incredible empowerment. And what Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was very, very generous with, and the mood that he created in Jagannath Puri was a mood of deep appreciation of how the Vaishnavas really, really glorify and really, really express their heart's appreciation for each other. In the beginning of the Bhagavatam we hear Tene Brahmarida Yaadi Kavaye Muyanti Yat Surayaha, that at the beginning of creation the Supreme Lord Krishna, in the heart of Brahma, he invested all the knowledge so that Brahma could understand how to now create this universe. But at the beginning of the Antya Leela, this verse is mirrored and is used to explain what Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu actually did to Rupa Goswami. Tene Brahma Rida Yaadi Kavaye Muyanti Yat Surayaha can also mean that the Supreme Lord Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu instilled within the heart of Rupa Goswami all the lost pastimes of Krishna, all the highest understandings of Krishna's interactions with his most confidential associates, so that Rupa Goswami could recreate the world of Vrindavan and present that to the whole world. And so that's what Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu did. He implanted, empowered Rupa Goswami with this knowledge. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's genius is the very hallmark of a Vaishnava. They want to see others flourish. They want to see others be glorified. They want to see that others rise in their devotion. They don't necessarily want to do everything themselves, although they can. But they want to see that they inspire and encourage others to bring out their best contribution. And therefore, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu inspires Rupa Goswami in this way. When Rupa Goswami arrives in Jagannath Puri, then Mahaprabhu first takes him to all the associates. And Mahaprabhu says to Nityananda, to Advaita, he says, please give your blessings to him. And of course Mahaprabhu doesn't even have to say that, because as soon as Advaita and Nityananda see Rupa Goswami, their heart is overflowing, they're wishing him the best. We begin to see in these verses how it's such a beautiful mood, that the mood of the spiritual world is that we're not seeing that we are separate to each other. In the Bhagavatam it said the biggest problem of the conditioned soul is that we have something called Pritag Bhava, which means a separatist mentality. It means that we look at the world around us, we look at everyone else around us and we think, I'm separate from them. Of course, we are separate living entities, but this Pritag Bhava means a sense of separatism where one feels themselves to be almost in competition with others. The spiritual understanding is that we are not separate. Your success, your advancement, your progress is also my success, is my advancement, is my progress. And therefore there's no competition. Whereas what happens in the material world is, because there's a separatist bhav, this separatist mentality, when someone else is succeeding, when someone else is doing well, somehow it makes us feel more insecure. Therefore there's competition. And when competition degrades, it becomes comparison. And when comparison degrades, it becomes criticism. And therefore we become more and more separatist. The separatist bhav creates a separatist in the way we live, separatism. Sometimes they give the analogy of frogs in a basket, that if you put frogs in a basket, you don't have to put any lid on it. Because what will happen is, as soon as one frog is trying to get out, then another frog will pull him back in. The amazing thing is they can all get out. They can all be free. But when they see that one person is getting free, then they pull that one down. And then another one is becoming free. So they all confine themselves to imprisonment, not understanding that they can all be free if, instead of competing with each other, They just complement each other and encourage and empower each other. So Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he shows how, yes, bless him. And Rupa Goswami is giving his best wishes to others. And like this, it creates this community where beautiful things are happening. And then Mahaprabhu, as soon as he sees how Rupa Goswami is accomplished in what he's doing, then he immediately appreciates it. And he shows it off to all the devotees. And something amazing happens in Jagannath Puri to show the level of empowerment that Mahaprabhu gives to Rupa Goswami. Because what happens at the Rath Yatra is this becomes like the culmination of Mahaprabhu's ecstasy. Mahaprabhu is in front of the Jagannath Rath Yatra cart. And remember, Jagannath is Krishna in separation from Radharani. And Mahaprabhu is Radharani in separation from Krishna. And therefore what's happening is there's this explosive emotion that Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is going through. But he doesn't have the words. Mahaprabhu doesn't have the words to describe what's going on in his heart. And therefore, everyone is kind of looking at Mahaprabhu's ecstasy and they have no idea what's going on because no one's seen this level of ecstasy before. And then Mahaprabhu starts to utter a verse, and this verse becomes even more bewildering for others because it's not really a shastric or a spiritual verse. It's just a verse of poetry which is talking about the love that a lady feels for her lover. Jai Shri Shri Radha Gopinath Ki. So Mahaprabhu, in front of the Jagannath Puri Rath Yatra, in front of the Rath Yatra car, in front of Jagannath, he cites this verse. Ya kaumara haras eva hivaras ta eva chaitrakshapas te chonmilita malati surabhaya prodakadambanile Sachevasmi tathapi tatra surata vyapara lila vidho reva rodasi vetasi tarutale cheta samutkanthate. That very personality who stole my heart during my youth is now again my master. These are the same moonlit nights of the month of Chaitra. The same fragrance of malati flowers is there, and the same sweet breezes are blowing from the Kadamba forest. In our intimate relationship, I am also the same lover, yet still my mind is not happy here. I am eager to go back to that place on the bank of the Reva under the Vetasi tree. That is my desire. So this is like... It's very difficult. Like, imagine there's a big Rath Yatra taking place, hundreds of devotees have come, and then, the eminent sannyasi comes to the front to lead a kirtan, and then on the mic they just start singing like a Bollywood song or something. This is basically what's happening. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is in front of Jagannath Puri and he's singing this verse, and this verse is just a poetic kind of love song. And nobody really understands, like, what is this? What is he saying? What is going through his mind? What is he trying to express? There's only two people that really understand it. One is Swarup Damodar and the other one is Rupa Goswami. Because Rupa Goswami is seeing the whole scene and he decodes what is actually going on. He decodes what nobody else can see, because he's received the empowerment from Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And he understands this is not Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Radha Bhava Dyuti Suvalitam. This is Krishna in the Radha Bhav. And we are not in Jagannath Puri. We are in Kurukshetra. And this is not Jagannath. This is Krishna, Dwarkadish, who's come to the land of Kurukshetra after a long separation from the Brijabasis. And what is being expressed by Mahaprabhu here is what Srimati Radharani feels after she has met Krishna, after such a long time, she feels so close to Krishna, yet so far, because she's in an environment, she's in a surrounding where she can't fully express her heart's feelings, and therefore she wants to take Krishna back to Vrindavan. And therefore, Rupa Goswami takes this verse that Mahaprabhu sings, and then he writes another verse. Priya soyam Krishna sahachari kurukshetra militas tataham saradha tadidamu bhayo sangama sukham tatapyanta kelan madhuramurali panchama juse mano me kalindi pulina vipinaya sprihayati. My dear friend, now I have met my very old and dear friend Krishna on this field of Kurukshetra. I am the same Radharani, and now we are meeting together. It is very pleasant, but I would still like to go to the bank of the Yamuna, beneath the trees of the forest there. I wish to hear the vibration of his sweet flute playing the fifth note within that forest of Vrindavan. So Rupa Goswami writes this verse, and then he puts it in the roof of his hut, and then Mahaprabhu appears, and Mahaprabhu sees that verse. And when Rupa Goswami arrives and he sees Mahaprabhu reading that verse, he pays his full obeisances. And as Rupa Goswami gets up, Mahaprabhu slaps him. He says, how did you understand my mind? Even I couldn't express it in words, what I was feeling. I had to use some other verse. But you've expressed my heart better than I could express it through my own mouth. What kind of empowerment have you received? But of course, Mahaprabhu is saying this, and Swarup Damodar later on confirms. He says to Mahaprabhu, well, what do you expect? You empowered him. You gave him that ability. And therefore, he's able to do all of these amazing things. This is the community of love. Everyone has incredible potential, but all it requires is the encouraging and positive and uplifting words from others, and then people can do amazing things. Arjun just needed some words from Krishna, and in 45 minutes it was enough. He was able to go through a complete breakdown and then go to becoming the most eminent fighter on the battlefield. It just required some words of encouragement from Krishna. Hanuman had incredible capacity, more capacity than he knew, but he was cursed that you will forget your own strength. And so when they went to find Sita and they realized they had to jump over to reach Lanka, everyone was thinking, none of us can do this. Even Hanuman was thinking, I can't do it. But it just required Jambavan to come and whisper in his ear that, no, Hanuman, you have the power. And Hanuman was given that benediction that you'll forget, but as soon as someone reminds you of your power, you'll again be able to do it. And so it just required those words from Jambavan, and Hanuman was able to do something amazing. Srila Prabhupada just needed those words from Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur. You're young, you're intelligent, why don't you spread Krishna consciousness all over the world? And it was just those encouraging words, it was enough. And Srila Prabhupada installed that within his heart, and then look at the amazing things he did. So a community of love means a community where there's great appreciation, where there's great encouragement, where we try to see the potential within everyone. This is why we exist together. Otherwise, you see, the problem in the world today is that everyone is insecure. We lack confidence. Education and knowledge can open the doors, but it's not enough to empower one to then walk through those doors. In order to walk through those doors, we have to have words of encouragement. And so in a community where we give this to each other, it becomes a very, very beautiful. And this is what we see Mahaprabhu is doing. What we have to be careful of is the tendency to be cynical, the tendency to be skeptical, the tendency to not see the best, the tendency to think the worst, the tendency to look down on others. This is very, very dangerous, and it comes to us very, very easily. It's very, very easy to be cynical. This verse is there in the Niti Shatakam. Jadyam rimati ganyate vratarucho damba sucho kaitavam sure nigranata manu vimatita dainyam priya lapini te dashvini avalaptita mukharata vaktarya shakti stire tatko nama guno bhavet saguninam yo durjaner nam kita. What this verse is explaining is how if one is in a very fault-finding mentality, even good things they will see in a very negative way. Jadyam rimati. Someone is shy, but the fault finder will look at that person and say, this person is completely lazy and couldn't face life. Ganyate vratarucho. Someone is very strict in their vows, but the cynical person will look at them and say, just see, so proud. Sucho kaitavam. Someone is very clean, they're very pucker in how they do everything. A negative, cynical person, oh, he's a cheater. He's just trying to cover something up. There must be something underneath it all. Sure nigranata. Someone is a formidable king, they have power. We'll always see it as cruelty and harshness. Someone becomes a muni, they don't say much. They're crazy, they couldn't face life, they kind of socially awkward. Someone is very humble. They come to you in a very humble spirit. Immediately the cynical person thinks, you want something from me. Someone is powerful. We immediately see the bad side of that. And then because of all of this, if someone, or we say someone is a good speaker, and then we look at that person and say, oh, bookworm, nothing practical, no experience, just some nice words. And then if someone doesn't do anything because they're scared of all these other things, then we say, look, they can't even do anything. What are they doing? They're useless. So tell me one good quality which the fault finders have not spoiled. So this is the opposite. We should be careful that this cynicism, this skepticism, this tendency to see the bad. One German writer says, treat someone as they are and they'll remain as they are. But treat them as they can and should be, and they'll become what they can and should be. So we have to try to empower others. There were two English prime ministers, Gladstone and Disraeli, and they said there was a difference between them. When you went into the room with Gladstone and you came out, you thought, that's the smartest person in the world. But when you went in the room with Disraeli and you came out, they said you ended up thinking, I'm the smartest person in the world. Not because that person that you went to meet wasn't smart, but their smartness, their glory was empowering. It made you think that you could also become like that. It made you also feel that you could be uplifted, you could be empowered. So this is what we have to do. This is the community of love. This is what Mahaprabhu teaches us through how he deals with Rupa Goswami. Later on, Rupa Goswami comes and he's writing many, many things. And Rupa Goswami writes this beautiful verse, Tunde tandivini ratim vitanute tundavali labdhaye karna krodha kadambini katayate karna buddhebhya spriham cheta prangini sangini vijayate sarvendriyanam kritim no jane janita kiyat viramrite krishne divarnadreyi. The amazing thing is that Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is the one who's delivering the glories of the holy name. But Rupa Goswami writes a verse and Mahaprabhu says, you've delineated the glories of the holy name more than I could ever have done. Rupa Goswami says, I don't know how much nectar there are in the two syllables Krishna. When these syllables enter my ears, I desire thousands of ears. When they dance on my tongue, I desire thousands of tongues. And when they enter the courtyard of my heart, they conquer my entire being and render all my senses inert. And so very beautiful. And Mahaprabhu, he calls all the devotees and he says to Rupa Goswami, recite your verse, recite your verse. But Rupa Goswami feels so insignificant. He says, I'm like a glowworm in the midst of all of you, so he can't do it. And then finally they force him to say it. So this is very beautiful. So this appreciation is such a nice thing. It's so much part of our culture. Should we desire to be appreciated? Sometimes people ask that question, that should we desire to be appreciated in a community? Maybe that's a weakness. I don't think it's always a weakness. The desire to be appreciated, if that's the driver behind your devotional service, then maybe it's a problem. But I think it's a human need. It's a human kindness to want to know that what you're doing is helping people, is pleasing Krishna. Is having an impact on other people's hearts. And therefore I think to want to have some appreciation so that you can confirm that what you're doing is pleasing to Krishna and the Vaishnavas, I think that's very normal, that's very human, that's also very devotional. And so in that way we don't need to feel that it's a weakness. In the manner, we had one devotee, Janakinath Prabhu, he contacted cancer at 31 and then he had 5 more years to live, and then in his final kind of days, he was having Zoom calls with many devotees. And obviously on those calls, many devotees were expressing their appreciation for him because, it could be the last time that they speak to him. So we were on one Zoom call and all the devotees were offering their deep appreciation for him. And then he got off the call and he said, I like to hear myself being appreciated. He said, is that a weakness? And then we were talking about it and he said, no, to hear these things is so pleasing to my heart, not because it's increasing my ego, but it's helping me to realize that my life was useful, that I was able to do something for someone. And that gives me faith, that gives me some happiness. Not that I'm anyone great, not that I'm above anyone else or more accomplished, but to know that I had the opportunity to do something and help someone, that brings so much joy to the heart. So we should also give that to others, that they're doing so much nice service. Let us give some words of encouragement and appreciation. So Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu shows this, that in a community of love, we're not scared, we're not miserly in doing this. As the Antya-lila moves on, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu meets with Haridas Thakur. Haridas Thakur is an incredible personality. Again, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu came to experience the mood of Srimati Radharani, but when he wanted to describe what that mood was, he did it through the mouth of Rupa Goswami, and Rupa Goswami became the Rasacharya. The amazing thing is Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu also came to the world to deliver the holy name of Krishna. But when he wanted to establish who is the most expert in chanting the holy name, then he made Haridas Thakur that person, Namacharya. Here is Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, who is the deliverer of the holy name, but he makes Haridas Thakur the Namacharya. So Haridas Thakur comes to Jagannath Puri. He resolves to spend the rest of his life there in the company of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, living at this very beautiful Siddha Bakul. And Haridas Thakur really represents, he really symbolizes spiritual strength. A spiritual community flies when there are individuals in that community who are actually connecting with the process in a very, very deep way. Haridas Thakur's spiritual strength is measured by his ability to tolerate provoking situations. Srila Prabhupada writes this in the Krishna book, that one's advancement is measured by their ability to tolerate provoking situations. And so Haridas Thakur undergoes sickness, the most acute types of sickness, but his connection with the process of the holy name, his connection with the process of chanting doesn't diminish in any way at all. Haridas Thakur goes through incredible suffering. He is beaten in multiple marketplaces, publicly humiliated, but his connection with the process doesn't diminish in any way. And Haridas Thakur goes through the most acute temptations of sense gratification. Maya Devi herself comes to tempt him away from the process, but his connection with the process of chanting the holy name doesn't diminish in any way. So this is how to understand one's spiritual strength. In the face of sickness, suffering, and sense gratification, if one can experience no diminishing of their connection with the process, one can understand that one possesses a phenomenal level of spiritual strength. And that's what Haridas Thakur had. And therefore Haridas Thakur became this emblem in the community of how chanting the holy name and this spiritual accomplishment that comes from it renders you transcendental to the most acute situations around you. And so a community of love cannot come about if there are not individuals who are embodying that love in a very, very genuine way in their own heart. And so Haridas Thakur, he really shows that. He becomes the pillar. Because what we seek to see in a community is real life examples. Once we went on a brahmachari trip and we were sharing with each other what gives you the most faith in Krishna consciousness. And so everyone was sharing different things. And then one devotee said something which really I resonated with. He said, what gives me the most faith in Krishna consciousness is when I see the transformation of those who come to Krishna consciousness. When we see the transformation that occurs in others and what they develop through this process, then that gives faith to everyone that I can follow this path. I can also achieve this. And therefore everyone becomes spiritually enthusiastic. Everyone becomes spiritually optimistic. Everyone becomes spiritually progressive because they see that it actually works. So we need Krishna consciousness movement has to be a living theology. What is talked about in the books, what is described in the personalities of the bygone ages, we should also be able to see such things manifesting in the devotees of now. And then in a community where that's happening, in a community where each devotee is spiritually sincere and spiritually becoming stronger, then the whole community rises. The community also rises in spiritual strength of the individuals, because it's by their spiritual strength that Krishna also becomes more and more active in that community. Like there's a beautiful story of the Alvars, and once a storm broke out, and one of the Alvars, they were the South Indian poets, they wrote beautiful poetry on devotion to their Ishtadevs. And as this storm broke out, one of the Alvar poets, he quickly ran for cover and he went into a shed. It was a tiny shed, but at least he was under cover, and it was just big enough so that he could lie down. So he thought, I'm going to be here for the night. So he lied down. And just as he was lying down and he got to sleep, there was a knock on the door. And he opened the door, and another one of the Alvars had come, and he said, I'm also running for cover. And he looked in, and there wasn't much space there. But the Alvar inside, he said, where one person can lie down, two people can sit down. So come in. And so they sat down and they began chanting together. And then there was another knock on the door, and a third Alvar came. And he looked in, there wasn't much room. He said, where one person can lie down, two people can sit, three people can stand. So he came in and they stood together in this shed all night long chanting. And in the morning they looked at each other and they said, wasn't it amazing? 3 of us stood here all night. And a voice came from the sky and it said, it wasn't 3, it was 4. Because Naham Tistami Vaikunte Yoginam Vidayeshu Va Yatra Gayanti Madhbhakta Tatra Tistami Narada. The Supreme Lord came and said, where my devotees are chanting, where my devotees are in great love connecting with me, Tatra Tistami Narada, at that place I come. So in a community of love where there are strong individuals, spiritually strong individuals, then what happens is that Krishna also becomes very active. Krishna also manifests in that place. And spiritual strength is also perhaps the pillar of everything, because all the other qualities that we're going to mention, when one has spiritual strength, then naturally all the other qualities come. When one has spiritual strength, when one is spiritually inspired, then naturally they're more encouraging and more empowering with others, because they're fulfilled, they're complete in themselves. Naturally, when one is spiritually strong, there'll be culture and etiquette, because when you're conscious, Krishna conscious, then you're conscious of everyone. You're very, very tuned in as to how to inspire and interact with people in the right way so as not to disturb anyone. When you have spiritual strength, then naturally you'll have a service attitude, because you will feel so that you've received so much that you should give more. So naturally service attitude will come. When you're spiritually strong, naturally the tendency to argue, the tendency to look for material things within the society of devotees, it will diminish, because those things become insignificant. And so spiritual strength and what Haridas Thakur represents is really a foundation of community, because from that spiritual strength all other qualities come. So like this, as we go through the Antilila of the Chaitanya Charitamrita, we begin to see how developing a community of love is really about the quality of character, the quality of our inner life, the quality of how we interact with each other more than anything. And it's very much possible. Again, these are not things we have to become intimidated by. We're all doing them to a greater or lesser degree. And the more that we can contribute this individually to the community, then everyone benefits and everyone becomes inspired to also develop more of this in themselves. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. So I'll just stop here and see before we move on to further qualities in coming days. If anyone has any questions or comments or other things you would like to share. Yes.
Hare Krishna Maharaj. I have a question about the class yesterday about the top 10 in the community. And also, I was reminded of this by the verse you quoted from the Niti Shaka, how subjective our perception can be. So how do we recognize who is in the top 10? Because, like for example, Indra Prabhu, I mean, he was considered by some as difficult and eccentric. And what I personally was very astonished is how learned he was. And I heard a number of private darshans that he gave. Otherwise, you know, he gave his Bhagavatam classes in the temple were too long. He didn't allow ladies in the 24-hour kirtan. But actually, his behavior had the most solid basis of Shastric knowledge. Like there was really nothing that he didn't know from Srila Prabhupada's books or any Vaishnava scripture. So how do we
Thank you.
how do we guess right?
Yeah. I think the first thing is that we don't necessarily need to try to establish who's in what category, but rather what we can try to establish is where are there Vaishnavas who I can put my faith in, who inspire me, who are like-minded, whose devotion I can appreciate, and how can I learn from them? How can I be inspired by them? Like say for example, in Shastra it said that you should test your guru before you take initiation. And in one sense we think like, how can a disciple test their guru? Like, the guru is the one teaching you. Like, in what way are you testing the guru? But one way to see it is that what the disciple is doing is they're not actually testing the guru. In one sense, what they're doing is they're testing their ability to put their full faith in that personality. And in that way, we're not judging someone, we're not labeling someone, we're not trying to put someone in a category, because when we try to do that, there's a very great chance that we may get it wrong. But what we can do is we can say, what is my ability to put my full faith in this person? And therefore, what we try to do in the Vaishnava Sangha is we try to find devotees whose devotion, whose approach to spiritual life, whose character, whose disposition and the way they carry themselves, the way they live, Shastra, very much connects with our heart. And then we use that example and we connect with them on that basis without judging that anyone else is like this or this person is like this. We just try to look for positive examples that we can be inspired and nourished by. And in that way we're able to discriminate in the society of devotees to find inspiring association without the danger of labeling devotees or disregarding other devotees or being cynical or skeptical towards some and misjudging them and potentially becoming offensive. So does that kind of help? More than trying to establish the character of someone, what we're trying to do is establish how much faith can I put in this person, how much of my heart, because of how much I connect to their practice of Krishna consciousness. Thank
you. So I have a question about this first point regarding appreciation and empowerment. So how important is it to give the words of encouragement that are actually truthful, that truly come from our heart, that we really believe in that? Because it's very easy to say, oh, you did something well, great job, but not really believe in that. And same goes with appreciation. Say, if we don't truly think this is a good thing that somebody did, but we can see how others would appreciate it and Krishna would appreciate it, how do we appreciate or not appreciate this person?
Yeah. When we appreciate, ideally the appreciation should be specific and it should be accurate. Generally, if appreciation or words of glorification are not specific and they're not accurate, it can begin to fall into the category of flattery, which is not necessarily beneficial for another person. So the idea is that we should be able to genuinely try to find something that someone is doing well and use that. Srila Prabhupada termed or coined the term, I don't know if he didn't coin the term probably, but he used it often to fan the spark. So find the spark. In everyone there is sincerity, in everyone there is something good. They say even a broken clock tells the right time twice a day. So everyone has something good. So let's see where we can begin. Vaishnavera gunagrahi na dekaya dosh. Kaya manovakya kore Vaishnava santosh. This is very beautiful. When Kaviraj Goswami went to the Govindaji temple, then Haridas Pandya and all these incredible devotees were there. And when he's describing Haridas Pandit, he says, Vaishnavera gunagrahi na dekaya dosh. That he was so saintly that he was able to grasp the good quality. So we should be able to grasp the good quality within someone. And when you're very specific in your appreciation, that also helps, because it helps the person to understand very specifically what they're doing well and to reinforce that. But yes, we should be accurate. And by doing that, it gives one the confidence, it gives one that sense of strength that yes, I can do more. So yes, it's important to be accurate and it's important to find something good. And often it also helps us, just that process of trying to, there are many good things, but just that process of trying to find something actually good helps us to meditate on that person more. And then we actually get more of an appreciation of their character. Because when we quickly look at someone and superficially, because our mindset is often cynical, we generally only see the bad things. So then when we take time to genuinely try to find something good, it means we really have to concentrate. And when we really have to concentrate, we begin unveiling more and more good things that we like, wow, I never knew that was there. So it helps us in that way to try to really accurately appreciate. Does that help? Okay.
Maharaj, thank you for your presentation. Could it be that in my neophyte understanding, it seems that Srimad Bhagavatam is mainly, throughout the pastimes, focusing on the qualities of Krishna, whereas Chaitanya Charitamrita is more focusing on the process of developing lover Godhead. So could it be that for us students, Chaitanya Charitamrita is more practical, useful than Srimad Bhagavatam?
Definitely Srimad Bhagavatam is elucidating on the glories of Krishna and the qualities of Krishna. Also, the Bhagavatam is very much focusing on the qualities of devotees. Like say for example, if you look at the 7th canto of the Bhagavatam, although it's a glorification of Nrsingadev, if you actually look on balance, Prahlad Maharaj is actually glorified even more than Nrsingadev. In that sense, what we find is that the Bhagavatam is also very much dealing with the lives of devotees and how they express their devotion. And that's very touching. For example, in Gopal Champu, Jiva Goswami says, referring to the Bhagavatam, he says, I heard about the qualities of Krishna and the love of Krishna, and it touched my heart. But when I heard about how the devotees share their love for Krishna and how Krishna reciprocates with them, then my heart melted. And so he says, really, when we hear about how the devotees express their love in the Bhagavatam, this is also very beautiful. But you're right, the Chaitanya Charitamrita is also very practical because it's very much dealing with the specific process that Krishna comes to deliver in the Kali Yuga, which is the process of Nam Sankirtan. It's very much dealing with how we create a community based around the Sankirtan movement. And therefore in the Chaitanya Charitamrita we're very much coming to a much closer example of what our community should look like, because it's very much centered around the process of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And in that sense, the Chaitanya Charitamrita is very much more closer for us and very much lending more to us in terms of our identity as devotees, like that.
Thank you. That's what I wanted to hear.
And thank you Maharaj for your class. In what you said about developing appreciation and empowerment, I find for myself with the ups and downs of life, mine, of other person around me, you're here now, so you're boosting us with this, but then when you're gone or time goes on, we fall back down. So how do we maintain, what quality must I develop to maintain this consistency of appreciation and empowerment for others? Because now we be boost for a few months maybe, and then we forget again. So how do we keep this on?
Yeah, I guess it's about developing that kind of approach. Like, once I said to one devotee, I said, I don't feel like I'm a very prayerful person. And so I said, it's hard to go in front of Krishna and pray. I don't feel that comes naturally to me. So he said, I'll give you something, you try it out. He said, what I want you to do is every night before you go to bed, just pray for one Vaishnav. Pray for one Vaishnav. And I found that actually very beautiful. It's kind of easier to pray for others than pray for myself. It's kind of, somehow that came more naturally. But I also realized that by praying for others, when I then would pray for a different person every day, then when I would meet that person and see them, I would almost see someone different. Because now it wasn't like me against them or me separate from them, but it was me with them, trying to help them to achieve and unleash their potential. And so you didn't become a passive observer of someone, but you almost became an active participant in their life. And then when you saw them, it wasn't like, there was almost a natural connection, because you felt like, yeah, how are you doing? Are you doing well? There was a natural eagerness to see the success of that person. So perhaps those kind of things, if we just build in those habits, that when we meet someone, or when we go away, or when we have a conversation with someone, to say something good about someone else, and we just try to build a mentality and disposition of always trying to add positivity, encouragement, appreciation and empowerment into our speech. So that means when you're in a management meeting, always try to ask, like, how can I be empowering? How can I appreciate here? Even when you have to point something bad out, just try to create a habit whereby before you do that, is there something you can do to also appreciate the good at the same time? So I think if we build in these habits and then it becomes more of an automatic kind of mentality to be in a more appreciative, empowering, uplifting, positive, progressive mood. And it's just so much nicer when we speak like that. It's so much nicer for us as well. But I guess it's just about, like Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, they say in his math, when two people would fight, then he would get them together and he'd say like, yes, okay, we're going to sort this disagreement out, but before we sort this disagreement out, can you just say 3 good things about each other? And after they expressed 3 good things about each other, in many cases there wasn't an argument anymore. And even if there was an argument, there was just much more scope to actually have a civilized conversation, because they could see that, oh no, this person understands me, they appreciate me, they're not so bad after all, and there was more scope to actually have a meeting of hearts. So I think it's just about doing that. And some devotees really do that, they're very, like I was in ISKCON of Silicon Valley last year, and I guess His Grace Vaisheshika Prabhu is a real emblem of being appreciative and encouraging. He's just so empowering to everyone in his speech, and so there are devotees who have just developed that, and I think we can do that, to always see that we are agents. We're not just passive observers of others, but by our words we can actually become active agents to help them improve.
Hare Krishna Maharaj, thank you for the lecture. My question is, what should a person do if he is in a community where some of the qualities are missing?
I think first we have to see that in every community all of these elements to a greater or lesser extent must be there. We have to work hard to see what is there. Unless we appreciate what is there, it's very difficult to see how we can improve it. So I would say first we have to do that. We have to try to see. The second thing I would say is that oftentimes we come to a community to take, to receive. Maybe take is a heavy word, but to receive. And that's very natural. We come to a community, we want to be in a community which is thriving, because then we can receive a lot that will help us. But also in a community where something can be lacking, we can see that the opportunity to give is also an amazing opportunity to uplift my spiritual life. That you grow in a community not just from what you receive, but from what you're able to also contribute there. And therefore when we see that there is something lacking, when there is something that could be, then as Gandhi said, be the change you want to see in the world. And therefore we try to bring that element in. We try to be the agent of positive change. When His Grace Tribhuvanath Prabhu went to Scotland, he tells this story. He said to Srila Prabhupada, but Srila Prabhupada, there's no good association there. And Srila Prabhupada looked at him and he said, then you become the good association. And he said he always remembered that, and it helped him to become self-sufficient and strong. So every devotee will bring different elements to the community. And so if we see that there's a lacking, rather than seeing that that's something which will endanger my spiritual life, rather we can see it's a great opportunity for me to contribute and give something back. Is that okay? Alright, I'm just looking at the time, and I think we've gone a little bit over, so maybe we'll stop here and then we can continue on with questions in the coming days. Thank you very much. Chaitanya Charitamrita ki jai, Shri Bhagavad ki jai.